got £1 million house, you know, you've got £1 million of property, some pensions in there as well, inheritance tax bills probably to the tune of 7 figures. Right, Simon, we've got £1 million inheritance tax problems brewing all across the board, haven't we?
Almost everyone we talk to.
I think there's just a fundamental kind of lack of awareness of the scale of the problem. Most people I'm speaking to, they've got, you know, £1 million kind of accruing, and
Yeah.
you know, I don't think it's that people are unaware about inheritance tax, and they're not unaware that it's 40% either as well.
And that's probably where their awareness stops. Inheritance tax is a thing. It's tax that gets paid when I die.
Yeah.
It's 40%. My house is probably tax-free. Not true, but I think it's what most people think. And that may be where their knowledge of it stops.
Yeah, probably, you know, it's the pain of paying as well, because it's, you know, it's not the tax bill they have to pay as such, is it? It's like, you know, I don't think anyone would say, oh God, I wish my children get to pay this tax bill, but you know, we're all busy people, aren't we? And I know, you know, I know the dentists I speak to, they're busy in surgery 3, 4, 5 days a week, having an income tax or a corporation tax bill to pay as well. And then of course we roll up and say, well, actually,
don't forget this one.
Yeah, don't forget, like, but really don't forget it. It's like, and that's why I think it's just, you know, it's a brewing problem that actually many people haven't had to pay inheritance tax previously, or it was reserved for kind of the ultra wealthy.
I think it's always been a tax that it's, you know, what's the classic saying? It's the one tax you only pay if you weren't clever enough not to, or something like that. But actually, I think that's no longer true. I think
it's a bit of a case of fail to prepare and prepare to fail. And unfortunately, well, we're kind of subject to kind of shrinkflation on it, or fiscal drag. Do you know what I mean? Everything's been kind of drawn in. And, you know, and I know I've got clients who are, they're kind of aware that the pensions are coming in as well, but like you don't get the trigger. You know, you don't get, like, you get your tax bill every year.
Yep.
Bosh, you have to pay it. It happened with a you know, happened quite massively across the board with kind of property tax, when I was seeing people, you know, because there was mortgage interest and it wasn't allowable, and it kind of got phased in over 4 years, and it wasn't until kind of year 4 where people were like, my God, this is really painful now, and then people are kind of taking action on that. But we're in this kind of horrible scenario where, like, inheritance tax is going to, like, because it doesn't take much, you know, you've got £1 million house, you know, you've got £1 million of property, got some pensions in there as well, and your inheritance tax bill is probably to the tune of 7 figures, like £1 million plus.
Quite quickly, especially from next April when the pensions are in it. They're not at the moment, and that's the big thing that's impacting dentists who have been fortunate enough to build big pensions and encouraged to build big pensions by past governments. Yeah. All of a sudden,
which is another problem in itself, because it's going to disencourage that. Maybe it does change the mindset of the planning for retirement. You know, which assets do you spend first? What do you do about inheritance tax? Because there are still things you can do about inheritance tax. The worst situation is doing nothing. Yeah. Even though it's more of a problem to solve now. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely things that people can take action with. It's you know, what's the lead time on it? Like, you really can't start planning too soon. That's the trouble, isn't it? I suppose another thing that is in inheritance tax that a lot of people might be vaguely aware of being a thing is this 7-year rule. So if you give assets away, inheritance tax rules don't really care for 7 years. They care a little bit. There's a bit of tailing off in there, but it's not really worked for 7 years. So you can't just leave everything till the last minute. Yeah. The sooner you do it, the better. You get perhaps several cycles of getting rid of a little bit every 7 years and things like that. Well, I think you were mentioning something earlier as well, though. You know, weirdly, the simplest way to solve inheritance tax is to kind of give everything away. But you need to kind of plan whether you can give everything away. You know, we're going through multiple cases at the moment where there's this kind of balancing. You know, if you've got, you know, your hat on a Thursday morning, your motivation might be to save inheritance tax. But of course, the answer is, well, you can save it all if you want, but you just won't have anything left. Yeah,
and you might think that's okay, but where's your where's your money coming, where's your income coming from? 'Cause actually it's probably those assets that generate your income. You can't have your cake and eat it there, unfortunately.
You know, like I say, we're going through multiple cases, and you know, more than ever before, you need the kind of right professionals in the room at the right point in time. So, you know, part of our best work is done with financial planning involved as well, and some really interesting stuff in that kind of sector to kind of bridge that gap, to make sure that you're reducing your inheritance tax, but you're also kind of got enough income to live off, because you don't want to be kind of on the streets.
No.
There are kind of quite detailed tax rules that kind of underpin it as well, and I think people are often confused when I'm speaking to them, say like, well, can I just kind of give away the house? I'll just kind of keep on living in it.
That is a common one. A lot of people do think that might be a way, because I don't own it anymore, I've given it away, it's not mine. But
I'll give my company away, just take some dividends.
Yeah, the trap we always have to tell people though, you know, you've told people as many times as I've told people, that doesn't work. There's a rule. People thought of that years ago, the government solved that years ago. So you do have to give things away. If you're doing any kind of giving away, but really kind of just keeping it, even if it's, or can you just pass me the dividends in the background, or can I just live there?
Fraught with danger.
That hasn't solved your inheritance tax problem.
Yeah. I mean, like weirdly, like there's so many kind of vectors with it. It's unbelievable. You know, each case that we sit down and do is very, very case specific. But actually, fundamentally, it boils down to start early, be clear about what you got, and plan.
Definitely. I think you need to know where you're starting from as well. So what's the size of the problem you've got? Have a clear picture of the assets that your world involves, the income they generate, what you need, and we can kind of then work out what's left to play with. What can we begin to give away, and work out the smartest way to do it. That's the process we go through with all the clients we do inheritance tax planning with. Kind
of simple but not easy, I suppose, in a way, because the route is simple, but you kind of have to sit down and actually kind of execute it.
And it'll be different for everybody as well. Even the people with the same collection of assets would probably have different answers. I was speaking to someone the other day who doesn't have any kids, so they're kind of thinking, well, why do I care about inheritance tax? And then they kind of casually mention nieces and nephews, and it's like, well, there you go. Those are the people we want to try and have you leave this for.
Yeah,
HMRC, if you don't stop and think about it, often they can be the biggest beneficiary of your estate, which is horrible.
Yeah, I had actually two similar kind of horror stories with clients who, you know, they had accountants and they thought they were kind of inheritance tax planning, but you know, they were fairly kind of well off, enough assets that they could live off what they needed to. But it wasn't even advice, it was just the absence of advice that we could see. They were kind of having this kind of slow moving kind of car crash where they've got this kind of very valuable trading dental group, and their kind of plan was to wait until they'd sold it, until they did any kind of inheritance tax planning, which of course is like, you know, I can't guarantee that it was the right or wrong thing with them, but you know, I'm only 99% certain it's a whole load easier to plan with a trading dental group than it is with a lump of cash in your hand.
Yeah, well, there's specific exemptions for trading businesses, which are now smaller, but I know who you're talking about, and I know they could have been in a better situation at that point in time if they'd just been thinking about what they were doing a bit more.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't know where to turn. I think that's my experiences. Most people I'm speaking to are going, oh, that's really, not really interesting. That's, that's really horrible to hear all these kind of inheritance tax rules. Like, where do I start? Well,
I don't think people know or really want to think about needing to turn anywhere. I think it's a horrible thing to be thinking about for a lot of people, because it's inheritance tax. It means you've died, and it's a problem that is, for most people, feels so far away that they don't think about it. And when they do, you're right, I suppose they don't know where to turn. And I think it's a joint thing. I think for us, all the planning we do is obviously you and I with our clients, with their financial advisors, possibly even bringing some, solicitors in for certain things you might want to do with family investment companies as a way to pass some wealth down to the next generation now.
Yeah.
So there's a whole kind of joined up thing that's required.
Yeah.
The first step is starting to think about it.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose just being
kind of completely blunt about it, you don't have to think about this. You don't have to do anything, do you?
No one's going to make you.
It sounds kind of complicated. Although I'm kind of saying it's simple, start at the beginning, it does sound complicated. There's multiple kind of elements to think about. But I think there's a very kind of good first step that most dentists can take if they want to.
Yeah, I think the first step is know more about it, know more about your own situation. And this is exactly why we're hosting our webinar about inheritance tax. It helps people understand, how do you start solving the problem?
Yeah.
What solutions might be out there, and actually how can we get rid of that £1 million tax bill together?
Sounds fantastic. Like, just start taking the steps, I think, isn't it?
That's it. Doing something will always be better than doing nothing. Thank you for watching. Hopefully you found that useful. If you'd like to know more about inheritance tax, sign up for our webinar where we'll talk you through how you can start to save tax.